So after posting the video on why we gave up Australia as a family, it's been interesting to read the comments. There was a bunch of people in the comments who were saying that I get what you're saying. I feel the same way, but how the hell can I afford to do this when I can't get a job over there? And that's what I wanted to talk about today, is basically talk about this mindset of needing a job and needing to work in a different country to be able to do something like this, and how if you're thinking of leaving the 9 to 5 grind in Australia, and maybe I've planted the seed of idea that it's potentially possible, which it is. We've been doing it now for 2 years, and these kinds of views, they're a lot cheaper in Southeast Asia than they are in Australia, and how anyone can transition from working a 9 to 5 and working online so that you can work wherever you want, which allows location freedom, which subsequently allows you to pack your bags and leave Australia if you choose to. So for those who didn't watch the first couple of videos, let me give you a bit of background. 8.5 years ago, I was a mechanical fitter. That is what I did as a job. I was a mechanical fitter, and I transitioned from being a mechanical fitter to running my own digital marketing agency. The main reason I did that is because I was sick of starting work at 6:30 in the morning and getting home at 5:30 at night and barely seeing my family. That is the main reason. The second reason is that I wanted to have a career that could be done anywhere. I was getting sick of the cost of living in Australia 8 years ago when it was starting to creep up. And I just said to my wife one day, I'm sick of this. I'm going to have to learn a new skill. Now, I want to qualify this by saying that I knew nothing about making money online before I did that. I did that purely on desperation because I was in a job that I didn't like. I was barely seeing my family, and I felt like it wasn't leading us to the end result or the end goal that we really wanted to have, our version of the Australian dream. It just wasn't leading us there. We were never going to get ahead given how physically, how many hours I was working relative to how much it was costing to live. We just weren't ever going to get ahead. We weren't ever going to get in a position where we could buy a house. And so we were just spinning our wheels. So I made the decision there and then that I was going to transition into something that was a little bit more flexible and something that was remote. So eventually we could do what we're doing today, 8.5 years later. Now, knowing that, what is stopping you from transitioning to a remote income? If you're really done with Australia and you're really ready to check out of Australia and maybe travel or go somewhere else, or even maybe make a bit of extra income to support on top of what you're making now to help with that cost of living, what actions are you taking towards that? Because I can sit here from a point of experience and go, anyone can do it. It's just a matter of knowing what and how it works and maybe shifting a bit of paradigms. So there are literally so many different ways to make money online, regardless of your brick and mortar skill set. And I think the thing that people have to shift their paradigm on is they think that because they're a nurse in the brick and mortar world, they have to be a nurse in these other countries. Or they think because they're a nurse in their current job, they have to be a nurse online somehow. And it's just not the case. A lot of the times, the skills that you've learned doing your current job will just, if you peel back the core layers of what it was, will transfer into some kind of digital role that you can do. For instance, let's talk about a nurse. What are some of the cornerstones of being a good nurse? An attention to detail, an ability to interpret situations quickly and make decisions, the ability to take notes and manage and things like that. They're all the core skills. Obviously, there's a lot of other core skills for this specific job, but those skills there are completely transferable to some kind of online role. That might be as a virtual assistant, that might be as a project manager online, that might be digital marketing. Every person out there has core skills that can help you make money online in some way. But I think the thing is, what stops a lot of people from looking into the digital space as a way of making money is that there's so many scams, there's so many schemes out there, there's so many get-rich quick schemes that they're intimidated by the fact that they have no experience in this space. They don't know what to look for, and they're worried that they're going to get caught up in something and they're going to be worse off. And that's a valid concern because there is a lot of scams. There is a lot of jobs that aren't legitimate. There is a lot of things out there that could really put you back. But on the flip side, there is a lot of legitimate roles online. Notwithstanding digital marketing, which is what I do, and running a digital marketing agency. If you want to learn a little bit more about that, there's a link in the description about that. But there's a whole bunch of digital jobs out there that pay well, that are completely legitimate. They are essentially roles working for online businesses that trade online. Things like e-commerce stores, things like working for a digital marketing agency as an assistant or as a data entry person, being community managers for groups, being community managers for big corporate brands. You've got to remember that the internet isn't going away and it's evolved a lot. And because of that, more and more roles are popping up on the internet every single day. You can find these roles on legitimate websites too. If you were to search online or remote in Seek, you'll see thousands and thousands of jobs that are completely remote. I guarantee you. Or you go into Indeed and you search remote or online, you'll see thousands and thousands of jobs with reputable brands. And then it's just a matter of learning the core skills you need to learn on top of what you know now to be competitive in that job market. The same way you learn a whole bunch of skills in the brick and mortar world to make yourself competitive for when you're becoming a nurse or becoming a carpenter. That obviously puts a lot of people off because there's a whole bunch of skills they need to learn that they don't know yet. But that shouldn't stop you from potentially exploring digital roles as a way of either breaking free from the 9-to-5 grind in Australia, if that's what you want to do like we did, or even just a way of making extra money so that you can live more comfortably even though the cost of living is increasing in Australia if you really do want to stay in Australia. But the only way you are going to escape the 9-to-5 grind in Australia is if you have a way of earning an income that can be earned anywhere. That is truly the only way you're going to be able to jettison yourself away from the cost of living crisis that Australia is currently having. And I think the final thing to add to this is that if you do decide to come to a country like Malaysia or Indonesia or the Philippines or Thailand, where you get, as an Australian, earning Australian income, earning a remote income, whether it's US dollars or Australian dollars, can get more bang for your buck just because of the arbitrage effect of living in a country that's cheaper. You need to remember that you don't necessarily need to earn as much as you did in Australia. So there's a lot of people that are saying, oh, it's going to suck for when you come back. Well, little do they know that we're saving 5 times as much living here than we were in Australia. So if anything, we're probably going to be better positioned when we come back to Australia than we were if we were to stay in Australia. Oh, you're going to regret not getting into the housing market? Well, we couldn't get into it anyway. We didn't have enough savings. We couldn't save fast enough to catch up with the price of housing. So we're not missing out on that aspect, except we're saving 5 times more in these countries than we were at home. So like I said, if you want to learn a little bit more about digital marketing, which is what we do, check out the link in the description. But I'm also thinking of, and let me know in the comments if you find this valuable or just send me a message. I'm thinking of doing a webinar on like a 101 of the digital marketing space and all the different things that are out there so that it will make it easier for you to look and choose and decide which avenue you go down, which might suit you and your specific skill sets you have right now. Because I honestly do believe that there's no better time than now to start exploring making money online because it's so easy to do and it's so accessible. Like I said, if some dumb mechanical fitter can transition from having a brick and mortar job, swinging spanners, to living completely remotely and doing that for almost a decade, I'm sure you can. You're way smarter than I am, and I'm sure you can too. So make sure if you haven't yet to subscribe because a lot more content's coming out on the way we live over here. I'm going to do a tour of the apartment that we have, which is only $180 a week, but half of the house has got an ocean view. And yeah, make sure to subscribe. And if you have any questions or queries, leave them in the comments and I'll make a video on them when I get to it. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll catch you on the horizon.